We
I don't know.
got it. We deserve Christmas bonuses for that
Oh
intro.
my goodness.
Welcome,
Yeah, send
everybody.
us some money.
Yeah, send us some money. Send us any money. Not, like no one sends us money. Send us money. We need to get it like
Yeah.
a Patreon or something. Have you heard of
Oh my
this?
God.
Not Patreon, but this thing. It's like a link you can sign up for, and it's like buy me a coffee or something. Have you heard of this?
I haven't heard of that, but I've seen people, well, I've seen the opposite, like people posting like Starbucks gift cards in their
Okay. Yeah.
Instagram stories, but
No, I think this is
I've
like a
never seen that.
somewhat less intrusive way, like less Patreonish way to be like, if you aren't going to buy my program or you don't pay for the podcast or whatever, but you just want to show a little love, like buy me a coffee. And it's just a way to like
Hmm.
give somebody a couple bucks. I'm like, that sounds like a really good idea. I'd change it to like buy me some chocolate and I don't know,
An
Ambien
Amazon
or
gift
something,
card.
something to put
Ambient.
something to put me to sleep.
Send me some Xanax, why don't
Yeah,
you?
send me some drugs that will help me disassociate from life for a minute. Oh my goodness, this is a health podcast. What am I saying?
Oh
Don't
no.
Nobody heard me say that, okay? Anyway,
Okay, but it's we're real. This is real life.
we're real
Let's
human
be real.
beings and we need to disassociate sometimes too, just like you
Yeah.
guys, okay? Speaking of
Okay.
which, this is the Muscle Snakes for Women podcast.
Hello.
And we're your friends, Ashley and Rachel. And we've got things going on. Like I just heard offline through the grapevine that you're going camping. So tell me about that.
Yeah. Okay, so I have never been camping before in my life. The only camping I've done is set up a Rugrats tent in my bedroom when I was 10 years old and slept in it for 2 weeks.
I mean, you did grow up in
Um,
Manhattan, so that we you get a
yeah.
pass for that, I think.
Yeah, I think that's probably why.
Yeah.
So never been camping, going with a bunch of my friends this weekend. We're going to a place called or I guess it's called the Chocolate Mountains.
Hmm.
I don't really know. But apparently the mountains, you like camp, it's like deserty and you camp and you have the mountains in the background. Um,
That
it's
sounds
like a two,
delicious and beautiful.
yeah, it's like a 2.5 hour drive from here. And I am in charge of the meal prep for
Mhm.
camping because I guess it depends like where you go camping and whatever the vibes are, what you have available. But a few of my friends who have done this often, I think the last time they went, they brought like raw meat and stuff to cook like over the fire, but they ended up getting caught in a windstorm. So they couldn't cook any of their food and there was like
Mm.
sand and dirt blowing everywhere. So they're like, we have PTSD. Now we just prep our meals in like little like metal containers or sorry, aluminum containers. And then you just like put them on the fire to heat up.
Mhm.
So I'm in charge of the meal prep for Friday and Saturday, which
For
I'm
how many
actually
people?
it's just, I think it's 6 or 7 of us.
Hmm.
So I'm making chili and cornbread for Friday night dinner. We're making chicken salad and cowboy caviar and like snacks for lunch, like easy
What is
stuff.
cowboy caviar?
Cowboy caviar is like it's like beans and corn
Okay.
and it's in this like vinegar
Okay.
sauce. It's actually really good. I'm not like a huge beans person, but I make this a lot when we do cookouts and stuff for my friends and they love it. And one addition to it is you add feta. Sounds weird. But if you've
Mm.
ever made cowboy caviar, um, typically that's not in it, but it adds a really nice flair.
Mm. Okay.
So making that, and then Saturday dinner is just going to be like good old sausage, sweet potatoes, and broccoli. So a simple meat, veg, potato type deal. And then I'm
Delicious.
adding miso glaze because,
As you
they
do.
have to.
What about the other meals? Are you just doing like what are you doing for breakfast and
So
lunch and
my uh,
stuff?
so my other friend's bringing stuff to make breakfast, so
Okay.
they've done that before and it's been fine, just like cooking eggs and like I guess sausage over the fire. Um, so they're doing that, and then people are bringing snacks and stuff. And I like made a joke in we have like a group chat going and a note, of course, with all the stuff that people are bringing. And I had this old espresso maker, one of those ones that you put on the stove. When I lived back in Miami, I used to make Cuban coffee
Yeah.
all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I had one of those and I just like took it out of the closet, super dusty. And I sent into the group chat. I was like, should I bring this to make espresso martinis? And my friend who's like kind of organizing it was like, we're trying, this is like rustic and simple and all this stuff. And I was like, espresso martinis aren't rustic? What?
Yeah, that's not like proper camping
What?
hydration.
Like,
What are you talking
come
about?
on.
Yeah, okay, so the
So
New
I'm gonna
Yorker
bring
is
it
coming
anyway,
out.
but whatever.
Yeah, you can't take the New Yorker out of the girl.
Yeah.
That's cool. Is there hiking involved? Like, do you have to really like hike to get to where you're going?
I don't think we have to hike to get to where we're going, like where the campsite is, but we are gonna go on a hike. So
Okay.
they've done this before and they went on like a really nice hike up the mountains, I guess. So we're definitely gonna do that on Saturday, which I'm excited about. And I
Fun.
actually do have hiking shoes from when I went to Jackson Hole one time. I bought, $150 hiking shoes for this one hike.
Hmm.
So I have those that I get to pull out of the closet.
Do you feel like you have other gear that is good?
Well, love Amazon and bought a bunch of stuff in the last 2 days that I probably don't need.
Mhm. Oh
I
boy.
bought a headlamp.
That's actually
Um,
probably smart. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
For like
Uh,
middle of the night peas, like you got to leave the tent.
exactly. That's
Yes.
what my one of my other friends, I was like, what are some things that people don't think of that they need camping? And she was like, a headlamp and two different sets of sweatpants and sweatshirts for sitting by the fire and then sleeping. Because when you sit by the
Hmm.
fire, your clothes get like smoky and stinky and you don't want to really sleep in those. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. And I would not have thought about that. So
Hmm.
that, and then I also I bought a whistle.
Scare
I was
off
looking on,
the
I was
creatures.
I was searching like, camping stuff, like a list of stuff to bring camping, and there were certain things like headlamp, and then someone said whistle in case you like
Get
are on the
lost.
hike and you get lost or you fall down or like it's in the middle of the night and you're going to the bathroom and you get attacked by a creature, you blow your whistle so everybody hears you.
A creature. What kind of creatures are at Chocolate Mountain?
Well, I've asked if I need to bring bear spray, and apparently I don't. So there's no
Hmm.
bears. I
Okay.
don't know what other creatures. It's in like the desert-ish area, so
Hmm.
not like the forest. So I don't
Okay.
know what creatures, but hopefully none. That would be great.
I want to go camping, but I do not want to interact with nature. Okay, I love this. I wish that Alex was around because obviously so my husband he's a outdoorsman for sure,
Hmm.
and he's also like a military guy. So our basement is literally a survival bunker, and he
Oh my
has the
gosh.
best gear, and he would give you all the recommendations. I mean, you guys aren't exactly like super roughing it. I think you'll be fine if you have like a proper tent and a proper sleeping bag and like
Hmm.
water, you'll be fine, but he's a really good source of information, and I'm not like a natural um camper. I've done it quite a bit with him, and because he likes it and he's kind of warmed me up to it a little bit, and we've done like winter camping and stuff like that,
Hmm.
and it's definitely true that you don't have to be like fancy or like glamping about it, but having the right stuff is paramount, because having,
Hmm.
to your point, like not having the right shoes, being uncomfortable, or like not having enough like layers or dressing properly, or like that kind of stuff can be the
Hmm.
difference between I actually really enjoyed this experience versus I am miserable and uncomfortable all the time.
Yeah, because once you're
So
there, you're there, and so yeah, I'm definitely gonna be overpacking, but oh well.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, good luck. I'm excited to hear
Thanks.
about it. I hope that you safely do encounter a creature or two, because then you'll have some good stories for us.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. And there's going to
yeah.
be no service. So this is the first time I think ever that I've like gone to a place for multiple days where I won't be on my phone, which I'm actually excited about. And so are some of my other friends who are looking to just like sign off for a little while.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be good.
Yeah, good for you. And it's also like you're kind of diving into it with, you said 3 nights or 2 nights? 2 nights
Two
and three.
nights. So we're going up Friday afternoon, coming back Sunday, probably
Okay.
like midday.
Yeah, because most people who are like, I'm trying this for the first time, it's like you do like a one overnight, but the good thing with 2 nights I've found, because I'm not the best sleeper and I'm not the biggest outdoors woman, but I find the first night I don't sleep at all because hello, you're in a tent and like every
Yeah.
noise and you just are not going to sleep. And when we're camping, we're in the forest, like we are going to hear animals. So I'm like, I'm not sleeping at
Hmm.
all. And then the second night after your body has kind of become attuned to what you're doing, you will get like the best sleep. So
Mm.
maybe that
Yeah.
will happen for you. And I remember now because you told me that you have like the most epic, intense sleep stuff, like your like sleep hygiene is very
Yeah.
intense. Are you are you bringing stuff, like are you bringing like an eye
Um,
mask, are you bringing
oh yeah, for sure bringing an eye mask and earplugs, because also when we sleeping in I think what we're doing is like my friends have a Jeep and they have like an air mattress for the back of their Jeep and that's where
oh
they
so you're
usually
car
sleep.
camping, yeah.
Well, so they're gonna sleep in that, and then
Mhm.
they have a tent that like goes over the back of the Jeep that's like big. So the rest of us are just gonna blow up air mattresses in like the rest of the tent. So we're all gonna be like sleeping in the same place, which I'm excited about because I'm only going if I don't have to sleep alone in a tent because that scares me. So at least if I'm sleeping with someone next to me and
Yes.
like five other people, then I'm good. But then also if we got snores and whatever,
Yeah.
I'm not about that. So definitely gonna be bringing my earplugs.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I very excited to hear how a couple days with like no service and roughing it and peeing outdoors goes for you. I think that will
Yeah,
be a really good time. That's cool.
we'll see. I also ordered body wipes on Amazon. So we'll
Listen,
see what
can't
those
go
are like.
wrong. Can't go
Yeah.
wrong. Yep. Yep. I mean, trying to be, I don't know, like using the bathroom outside is a different thing for
Mhm.
girls than it is for boys.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's a lot more
Yeah.
work and aim.
Well, yeah. The cool thing
So,
is one of our friends is a nurse, and so she's bringing us shiwis.
oh
Have you ever heard of
yeah,
that? Okay.
she
So we'll have
beautiful.
that, especially like for the middle of the night stuff, which will hopefully make things
I feel
easy.
like that takes like that's like a learning curve too, though. Like if you're like waking up in the middle of the night and you got to figure out how to like use your little.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to go
Oh,
through
it's
some
amazing. I can't.
tutorials when we
Yeah,
get
I
there.
can't wait to hear. I can't wait to hear about this. Okay, that's amazing.
I'll take a
Awesome.
selfie with my headlamp on in the middle of
And
the
your
night
Shiwi.
in my shiwi. Well, waist up, but I'll be like, "Hey,
Yeah.
I'm using my shiwi, and here's my headlamp so I can see,
Oh,
and
I
my
love
whistle
that.
in case I get attacked by a creature."
I love that so much. Okay, so report back. This has
Okay, I
been
will.
camping talk with Rachel and Ashley. Okay, let's answer some questions. Um,
Yes.
and if you want to read, maybe if you want to start and read this one from Ashley,
Hmm.
about berberine, we can kind of just like cover that one real
Let's do it.
quick.
Okay, so Ashley said, "Hello, I've been listening to you for some time and love every podcast." I love when emails start like this.
I know.
Makes me so
Just,
happy.
yeah, it's nice. Feels good.
Appreciate you.
Mhm.
She said, "Each is so insightful and gives great advice and knowledge for women. Thank you both so much for creating this podcast. Thank you for
You got it.
listening." She said, "I wanted to see if you could answer some questions around berberine, which is marketed as the quote unquote natural Ozempic. Thoughts about this and supplementing with it? Reading different articles about how some people have actually gained weight around their stomach on it and how it can mess up your gut bugs. Other articles read people using it. Other articles I've read, people using it have lost weight and have less cravings." She said, "Would love if you could dive deeper into this. Thanks in advance."
Yeah. So,
Okay.
do you know much about this? Have you?
I know a little bit about berberine.
Yeah.
I haven't done much recent research about it, but
Yeah.
when I back in kind of like when I was more in like the keto space and there was a lot of stuff with like blood sugar regulation, all of that, berberine came up a bunch. And I think it kind of had like a peak at some point. So there was a lot of research coming out a few years ago. But I haven't done much research since then. How
Yeah.
about you?
Yeah. I'm kind of the same. Like, I'm just going to say right off the bat that anything that we're going to talk about here is stuff that can be widely found on the internet. Neither of us are, you know, experts or medical supplement
Yeah.
science experts in any way
No
relating to
medical advice
berberine.
here.
No
Yeah.
medical advice. And I mean, I don't know too many people who are on the internet that would be experts in this. So whatever you can find in your sleuthing is probably the same information that we have. But for anybody who kind of doesn't know anything about it and is like, berberine, what? Nature's Ozempic? I could lose some
Mhm.
weight and not have to take a GLP-1 drug. Cool, let's talk
Mhm.
about it. So, the general gist is that berberine is a compound that's found in some plants and some foods that we already eat. And there seems to be some pretty potentially exciting evidence and research around its ability to help manage blood sugar and increase insulin sensitivity, and manage cravings and help people lose weight, right? So that's why people are
Mhm.
saying it's this natural Ozempic. From what I can tell, the studies that have been done do seem to point towards definitely like an interest in continuing to research this compound because it does seem to be effective. But everything that I've seen has shown that like the studies that are done, there's kind of like issues with bias. It's not like there's nothing that's sort of fully come out that's like this is definitive, this study was flawless, this stuff works, we should all be doing this.
Mhm.
So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, we've played around with it a little bit. It looks like it could potentially help some people lose weight, manage their cravings, things like that. But we can't say definitively because the proper in-depth studies haven't been done.
Mhm.
Would you say that's what
Yeah,
you've
I
kind of?
agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and there does seem to be also, I mean, to her point, she was saying something about some people have had adverse reactions and it's messed with people's like gut microbiome because there does tend to be, or they have seen some side effects that are like nausea and stomach upset and stuff. So, as with anything, I mean, you see all these like drug commercials that are like, this will fix your entire life. And side effects may include you like barf 20 times a day and
Oh
hate
my
your
God.
life and like you know what I mean, so like
Yeah.
there are potential drawbacks to this. I think that you definitely need to consult your healthcare provider, you need to do your own research, you need to whatever, but it does seem like you can buy berberine at a health food
Mhm.
store, right? So
Or on
it's
Amazon,
it
yeah.
yeah, so it is a sort of lower risk thing if you wanted to try it in addition to optimizing and maximizing your lifestyle and your diet and all of these things, and try it safely with the recommended dosing and see how it feels and if it's doing anything for you. It certainly seems like a cheaper, simpler, potentially more quote unquote natural first approach than going to something like Ozempic.
Mhm.
But it's funny because when I was reading this, it brought up, like, I was having a conversation with a girlfriend recently who is not in this industry at all, and she was asking me about another supplement, and she's like, "What do you think about this supplement?" And I'm like, "Well, what do you want to use it for?" And she's like, "Bloating, energy, weight loss, like, just make myself like
Mhm.
feel better." And I'm like, "You know what you should do is stop drinking and walk a lot more and sleep better than you're sleeping and eat better food consistently for a few months. Then
Hey, yeah,
maybe
whoa.
if you throw this other supplement on top of it, it'll be this nice little tweak that'll help." But again, it goes back to this like, it's so much harder for people to do all that other stuff that
Mhm.
is going to make such a bigger difference. Like, look at the health pyramid. Supplements are at the top, tip top, not because they're the best and the most important, because they probably have the least effect
Mhm.
compared to all of these other millions of things you could be doing. And they're the icing on the cake that may help if you have the funds and the ability to do it once you've done everything else, right? So that's kind
Yeah.
of my feeling too. It's like, have you, and no one's perfect, so I'm not saying do you do everything perfectly, but if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to improve your blood sugar regulation, how your body manages, blood sugar, have you done everything lifestyle wise first that you can? And have
Mhm.
you done it consistently for a pretty significant period of time? And when you do that, and that's kind of maintaining, and maybe you've hit a plateau, okay, maybe go buy some berberine and try that out and see how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it just comes back to the, magic pill thing that everybody wants, which would be amazing, but it just doesn't work like that, unfortunately. And I think also just being aware of like no matter what supplement you're starting or taking, you just have to understand that everybody's different and there could be negative side effects. One of them too, I think like berberine is helpful for blood sugar regulation, right? So if someone starts taking it, but they already have low blood sugar or they go through like big roller coasters, if you take it and you actually dip too low and your blood sugar dips too low, that is not good. So that's one of the adverse effects, at least I've uh,
Mm.
seen or read about, people just like slapping berberine on and taking it, multiple times a day and now having like these huge blood sugar dips and wondering why like energy's crashing and they're feeling like crap and all that. So it's comes back to just like any other supplement, know why you're taking it, make sure you're paying attention to your symptoms. Obviously talk to your doctor about it, all that jazz. And don't be adding like don't be adding 10 or 5 new supplements all at once and, hoping for the best. Cause then how do you know what's working? There's so many variables, side effects, things like that. So just be smart about it, I would say, if you're going to try it out.
Yep, that's very smart. That also reminds me, in my reading, it says that another potential side effect is that it can, um, I don't know, something about a buildup of this other compound called bilirubin that people who
Mm,
have had babies or are pregnant may have heard of, that could be potentially problematic for your baby. So like this is not something you want to be supplementing with when you are pregnant, breastfeeding,
mhm,
anything like that. So that's just another thing to think about. But again, you're gonna do your own research. It has been around for a while.
mhm.
There have been studies. It's been, people have been talking about this way longer than people have been talking about Ozempic, for because I heard about it,
Yeah, for
years
sure.
before that. So again, we're not poo-pooing it. We're not saying that like don't look into this, but again, like anything, even Ozempic, which is sweeping the world and changing a ton of people's lives, it's still not the magic pill. It isn't. It may seem like that to some
Yeah.
people, or you may read a certain story that makes you feel that way, but it's still not. People still need to do the hard work if they want to have sustainable,
Yeah.
health changes. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
All right. Let's see. Let's move on to Emily, who's asking about another very common question that we get. I wonder if other health, like and fitness podcasts, get this specific question or this kind of question as much as us, or if it's because we cater more towards women who want to do like everything all the time. But
Yeah.
she's asking about gains, muscle gains, keeping your strength, and also endurance. It's like the new I
Mm,
want to build muscle and lose fat thing. Okay.
mhm.
Emily is saying, howdy. I've been binging your podcast and I'm so thankful for you too. I've given you a 5-star review. You know what? We're giving you a five
Yay.
star review right back. You deserve a Christmas bonus too.
Yay.
Good job, Emily. We appreciate you. All right. Emily says,
Oh man.
I'm hoping to get pregnant later next year and want to do my first marathon before potentially getting into my pregnancy era. So she's working through a list of travel and fitness goals before pregnancy. Look at you being very
Mm.
ambitious. I wish I had that energy. I'm currently 26 weeks and I just want to roll into the fetal position for the next 3 months. Okay. She says, I love running and enjoy a challenge. And I don't know how long it'll be before I feel like I could commit the time for a marathon training as a new mother. That's fair point. She says, over the last 4 years, I've slowly lost 60 pounds and kept it off. In the last year and a half, I've been focusing on strength and have had significant muscle gain, about 10 pounds, even with lots of cardio, averaging about 15 miles per week. So she's doing cardio and she's building muscle. I work with a nutritionist to help me meet my fitness goals with my diet, ensuring proper protein, healthy fats, carbs, and continual motivation to find alternatives to serve me for my processed sugar cravings. Okay. Black bean brownies. Do you like that? Have we talked about that? Have you made those before?
I've never, no.
Listen, to each their own. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I'm reaching out because I've run half marathons in the past, but she was not in her muscle mommy era, so she didn't care about having muscle back then. I've planned a 6-month incremental mileage increase to meet my endurance goal, but I fear I will lose muscle gain. She kind of breaks down her training here, which is a bit confusing to me. Maybe you can read it differently, but she's saying My training goals have 3 muscle training days, push, pull, and legs, 4 running days, and my 4th exercise day is my push run with no weight training. I don't know. It gets confusing. 2 rest
Yeah.
days. She's saying if she's saying 3 training days and 4 running days, that's 7. So I don't know how she has two
Mm.
rest days in addition to that. And then she says one of
Yeah.
her rest days is a kickball league. So
Mm.
that adds up to, or
A lot.
7. That's a lot of training and not a lot of time off.
Yeah.
So she's asking, can I still gain muscle while training for this marathon? What are some realistic muscle goals I can make for myself while training for the marathon? She's just saying she wants to get the best of both worlds. Am I overthinking this because I've had gains while doing lots of cardio? So there's a
Yeah.
lot going on there.
Hmm. I mean, I would just kind of simplify it with an answer. Um, you can, first of all, it depends, right? With everything we talk about, but I don't think that you, uh, like a lot of people say, oh, if you do a ton of cardio, you're going to lose a lot of muscle. And, if you do a ton of, lifting weights and do no cardio, your cardiovascular system is going to suck, all this stuff, right? That's all the stuff we hear. I think one of the biggest things comes down to, and I don't think anybody's surprised about hearing this from us, is fueling appropriate for what you're doing. So obviously, if you're running a lot, especially training for a marathon, you're going to be expending a ton of energy. And if you're not replacing that energy, then you're going to have a hard time maintaining muscle in general and probably building muscle. The other thing is we always have to go back to specificity, and that comes to what is your primary goal right now? And we love to do all things at once. Everybody wants to have all the things at once, but that's not reality. So if your primary goal right now is marathon training and you're going to be running 4 days a week, especially if it's going to like increase in mileage, your body is going to need to recover from that. And it's probably not the time to like focus on going into a muscle building phase specifically, right? So, in my opinion, I think that she can absolutely still maintain muscle and potentially see a little bit of muscle gain, but that would come from making sure that everything is dialed in, right? So like sleep, recovery, making sure you're eating enough food, all different macros, obviously protein, but also carbohydrates to fuel all of your training, enough fats, like having that all dialed in. I know she said she's working with a nutritionist, so hopefully, she can help her dial those things in. But in like the reality of it, I think that if the marathon is the primary goal right now, but you also want to continue maintaining your muscle, then my recommendation would be lifting like 2 to 3 times per week, probably a full body split. You could do a push pull leg split. Um, and you could even divide that up, like on a rotational cycle. So if you're only doing 2 days a week of lifting, you could do like push pull like push pull one week, legs push the next week, pull, whatever, like you
Mhm.
cycle through it. If there's some weeks where you're running less and you want to add in a third day, or if you feel like you're recovering really well, then go for it. But I think the biggest thing is just mainly paying attention to that recovery piece, and everybody's different. So we can't give you like the exact kind of prescription of like, this is XYZ, what you should do. Having some sort of outline to go off of, and then basically kind of testing and assessing, as you go and as you're recovering and all of that, that's probably going to be like the recommendation that I would give anybody who's asking a question like this. So yeah, that's kind of my take on it. Is just making sure you're fueling for the activity you're doing and the energy you're expending, and then kind of just testing and assessing and making sure that your recovery is in a good place week to week.
Yep. Yep. I like that. And I agree too that, if you're training specifically for a marathon, you probably should be prioritizing that over actively gaining muscle. But with that said, you can probably, like you said, maybe gain a little bit of muscle, but at the very least, you can work to minimize muscle loss, muscle wasting, from overtraining or not eating enough or fueling enough or not recovering enough. As somebody who has run a couple marathons myself, I know no one who looks at me would believe that, but I did run a couple marathons. And you also want to be really focusing on protecting your joints and your soft tissue, your ligament and your
Mhm.
tendons and stuff. I don't know how young you are. I don't know what your athletic background is, but marathons are very hard on the body. And you could argue that they are harder on the body for those of us who are not elite runners, like the ones who are out there pounding the pavement for hours longer than the people who are really good at it. It's really hard on your body. It is not. Um, I mean, I wouldn't do it again. I did it when I was younger and it was really hard and it taught me a lot of things. I wouldn't do it again. I don't think it would be
Mhm.
good for me to do it again. So that's something you also really want to be focusing on, because if you are going through this period of like, I'm just focusing, I want to get this marathon under my belt before I have a baby, but I don't want to completely lose all my gains. So then you want to focus on how healthy can you stay? What's sort of like the minimum effective dose of training that you can do that you're going to feel prepared and healthy. And then when you're done, you can kind of move into maybe another muscle building phase, something that's a little bit lower impact, something that,
Mhm.
gives your body a break in a certain way. I think would be really good to think about too.
Mhm. Absolutely.
And I mean, it sounds like she's doing some things good, right. We don't know a lot of backstory, but like losing 60 pounds over 4 years slowly sounds like you probably did it in a healthy way. She has a nutritionist. She has somebody that she's like working with to kind of maintain a plan and stuff like that. Like it sounds like she's doing a lot of really good things. My knee jerk reaction as somebody who's on the other side of it now, because I'm older and having kids and working less hard in the gym, is like, it
Mhm.
sounds like maybe you're going a little too hard on maybe trying to do a little bit too much, but you know that better than we do. And so to your point, Rachel, it's just like prioritize what's actually
Mhm.
important and pay attention to what your
Yeah.
body's signals are telling you, and your body will tell you if you're overtraining. So listen to it if it tells you that,
Yeah. For sure. And then I'm just going to add one more thing to that, which just kind of goes with everything we said. If you are, she said she's trying to get pregnant after this, correct?
Yeah, later next year, so she's got
So
some time.
that's something to think about too. Like if you're putting your body under a ton of stress leading up to trying to get pregnant, it's probably gonna
Make it
I mean,
harder.
be sorry, my voice is
Yeah.
sorry about that. Make it harder and also, you know, you want to put your body in the best position to feel body hormones, everything, physiology to feel as safe as possible because that's when conceiving is potentially the easiest. And then also, as you get pregnant and you're growing a baby, like you don't want to be in a stressed out state. And a lot of people kind of think, oh, if I do all this stuff and then I wait like a month, I'll be back to normal. And
Yeah.
that's not how our hormones work. Our hormones are a result of what we've been doing for a year prior. And you kind of hear this too. And I've worked with clients and even with myself, like over the years, people who, for example, lose their period because they've been training so hard, not eating enough, stressed out, even if they start today doing all the right things, eating more food, optimizing everything, they probably, and I've seen this multiple times, the period does not come back for another like 6, maybe even 10 plus months because your hormones, your system, your body is reacting to what you did for the past 6 to 12 months. Obviously, everybody's different. This is just kind of like a general note, but like that's something too that you really have to keep in mind. If you're overstretching your body right now, it's not just going to be like a quick, flip of the switch and you can just get right back to, you know, being optimized to get pregnant. So that's another thing to just keep in mind that you might want to keep that timeline uh, in the back of your mind while you're
That's a
doing all that
very good
stuff.
point. That's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Emily, good luck with all of the things and keep us posted.
Mhm.
Okay. Should we answer this cycle training? I feel like we've done like an entire episode on this. I might have to go back through the history and see
Yeah.
and
We've
maybe put
definitely
a
talked about this before, but maybe we just do a quick Like we
Okay.
can just talk about it for a second and then refer back to the other episodes.
Yeah.
Do you want me to read it?
I'll read it and then you can talk about it. And
Okay.
this is timely because this individual, Angela, she purchased a couple of our programs because we just had a really
Mhm.
sweet deal. And so some smart people picked up our programs because we just had a Black Friday deal, which we probably will not have another deal like that before the end of the year.
Mhm.
But we do have, it's worth noting, a discount for military, first responders, medical, anybody that's awesome. I don't know, you'll have to convince us, but if you want a discount, if you're a,
Yeah.
EMT, military,
Mhm.
first responder, reach out to us and we would happily give you a discount on any of the muscle science for women programs. And we would love to have you in there. Um, so yeah, so Angela's saying she recently purchased both our Grow Your Glutes and Shoulders program. Love that. She's just attacking all the important
Yes.
stuff. She says, I've been cycling my weight training through my menstrual cycle, which is something I learned from another popular podcaster. Who else are you listening to? What other popular podcaster are you listening to instead of us? I demand to know it. Okay. What are your thoughts on cycling load and reps through your cycle? For example, 10 to 12 reps of moderate load weeks, 5 to 8 reps of heavy load weeks, 15 to 20 reps, light load. Do you think there's a benefit to that approach, or would you recommend keeping it in the sort of 6 to 8 reps heavy load constantly?
Mm.
I love all your information on your podcast. I'm looking forward to starting your programs. Cool. Thanks, Angela.
Yeah. So do you want me to
Yeah,
start
you start.
or? So I think first of all, just kind of talking about like rep ranges. So she's doing the Grow Glutes and Shoulder program, and there's specific rep range recommendations for certain movements and things like that. I, I will say that it's not like solely in the 6 to 8 rep range group. I just want to like make that clear. We have different rep ranges depending on the different movements, and that just goes back to building muscle. You can build muscle in anywhere from 5 to 30 reps. But ideally, for most people, staying within the 6 to 12-ish rep range, a little bit lower, a little bit higher than that is going to be probably the best place to be just for efficiency purposes and all that. And I think in terms of like cycle training, like you said, everybody is so different in terms and there's so many other variables that play into it. Can you hear me still?
You
Oh,
froze, but then it
okay.
caught up. So we'll just have to see what happens in post production.
Okay.
But I think
What did I
you
freeze
think
on?
you like as soon as you started talking, you froze for like 15
Oh,
seconds.
perfect. Okay. So, what I was gonna say is
Like
that
right after you were talking about rep ranges, you were saying that like rep
okay.
ranges. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you get I finished the rep range part?
Yes. I
Okay,
think
cool.
you were finishing
So
rep range.
with cycles, so basically everybody's different, right? Everybody responds differently to their menstrual cycle, but there's so many other variables that also play into it that we've talked about on prior episodes before in terms of training around your cycle. So my opinion, and I think Ashley agrees with me, is that just kind of paying attention to how you're feeling before you start your cycle, during, after, etc., but also taking into account all the other variables that could be going on in your just general life during that time too. That's not going to make it consistent every single month, month to month, right? So I don't personally structure my training around my cycle. I just pay attention to how I'm feeling. And I keep in the back of my mind, oh, is this like the week before my cycle? Am I feeling certain things that kind of align with that? And if so, I kind of like pull back a little bit on my intensity of training. But that goes the same if you had a bad night's sleep or you're feeling sick or something else is going on with like stress at work or with your family. Like you're going to wake up and not feel that great that day. So pushing yourself, 100% in the gym might not be the best idea. So that's kind of my take on it, is like you have to kind of be in tune with these different things that are going on. And if you are going into your training and you're aware of this and you're paying attention, there's going to be certain days where maybe you don't necessarily have to adjust the training plan in terms of like rep ranges and things like that, but maybe you are bringing the intensity down a little bit. So maybe you're doing a little bit less weight than you did the previous week because you're not feeling 100%. You're not feeling as strong as maybe you did last week. And then vice versa, there could be weeks where you're feeling really strong. And so you're bumping it up a little bit, but you're always kind of keeping in mind too, like, okay, what part of my cycle am I at? Does it make sense that I'm feeling this way? And can I just adjust my intensity based off of that versus like trying to change and overhaul your whole program? Because that just, for me, it gets really confusing and just tends to be like maybe it works out for like a month or two, but then it tends to not
Yeah.
be consistent and leads to just more confusion.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it.
Yeah, and it's also just one other thing too. I mean, I'm a big fan of tracking your cycle for a number of reasons, for the reasons you just
Mm-hmm.
outlined, to have a better sense of how your physiology is affecting your energy and your mood and all of those things. If you are trying to get pregnant, trying not to get pregnant, and that's a factor for you, that's
Mm-hmm.
really important to know all of these things. Um, but also trying to like sync that up perfectly with your training is something that's like just another level of kind of like fussiness that I wouldn't want to personally deal with. And I know that there are some
Mm-hmm.
people who, due to having more irregular periods or PCOS or things that are, different things that are going on that really affect you, you may have to be more particular about how you train around your cycle. And for the vast majority of people who are cycling normally, I would say we should be aiming to make our cycle have as little impact on our
Yeah.
life and our training as possible, right? And there is, if and again, this stuff is widely available on the internet. We do talk about it in the Muscle Science for Women program as well. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we talked about this in another episode. So if I find it, I'll link it in the show notes. But there is evidence that with rising and falling hormone levels, like when estrogen goes up, that we can actually train harder, but also
Mm-hmm.
around ovulation, with estrogen being high and all of these things, we also may have a slightly increased risk of injury too. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
how granular do you want to get? Do you want to not lift really heavy around this time, even if you feel like $1,000,000, because maybe there's
Mm-hmm.
some hormonal stuff happening that might make you more likely to do something bad? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It just gets a very again, granular in a way that I don't think is necessary. But I think like the
Yeah.
rep range thing can be, as you pointed out earlier, it can be almost separated completely from the hormonal side of things. And it's just like certain exercises and even the order of exercise and all of that stuff lends itself towards staying at the lower end of the rep range versus the higher end of the rep range. Like, I don't know too many people, and maybe you can, because you're more like hardcore about this stuff, but like there's not a lot of people doing like heavy 5 rep maxes on like a delt cable raise or something, right? Like there
Yeah.
are certain exercises, whereas like
Yeah.
maybe if you're really into barbell squatting, maybe that's an area where you're going to be
Mm-hmm.
trying a little bit more absolute strength stuff. Like you can play with the rep range thing more to your personal preference and what makes sense for the timing of your movements and the type of exercise you're choosing, but it doesn't really
Mm-hmm.
necessarily have to do as much with your period. And guys, I just got to
Yeah.
say, if you've been hearing like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of heavy breathing on my end this episode, I can't help it, okay? I can't breathe.
She's
My
pregnant. Give her a
literally
break.
everything that is normally in my guts is in my rib cage right now. Like I'm just like over here, just like
Oh my God.
like it's so bad and it's not cute, but I'm trying my best, guys. I'm not running. I'm just out of breath from being alive. That's all I
Well,
gotta
I think
say.
we should end there because that was
Yep.
great.
Yep.
Cool.
Existing is exhausting. That might be the new third
Oh,
tagline for me, because that is literally what is like running through my head right now. I'm like, I'm so tired
amazing.
just being alive. Anyway, thanks
Cool.
guys. Thanks guys for
Thanks for
listening,
listening. Give us a five
and
star review.
give
Ooh,
us a five
ooh.
star review. We will bump your email right up to the top and be
Mm-hmm.
so complimentary of you if you leave us a 5 star review. We'll be super biased and just really nice to you.
Yeah.
And if you have questions or comments or topic ideas, anything you want us to dive into, you can send us an email at muscle science for women, the number 4, at gmail.com. You can reach out to us on our various socials platforms. I'm only on Instagram
Mm-hmm.
because I'm old and tired, at the Muscle Maven. And you're crushing it on TikTok, aren't you?
I mean, I guess I
Ish.
don't go on it much, but apparently things are coming out still. So
Yeah, things are
thanks,
happening
team.
over there. Yeah, that's great. And we both have YouTube channels and we both have websites and we have lots of free resources and we have all of
Yes.
our programs. They're all available to you and we are happy to answer any questions you have about any of it. So
Yep.
that's it. Until
Awesome.
next time, just go
I know.
camping. Just use
Don't
your
be insane.
don't be
I'm for
insane.
sure gonna be insane when I'm camping. Like
Just don't.
I need to reel it in because I don't want to like be that annoying person who's so high maintenance, you know? So I'm just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
don't
I
be
th-
that person.
I think our advice of don't do stupid shit would really come in handy on a camping trip though. So just practice what you
I'm
preach,
gonna
my
try my
friend,
best.
okay?
All
Take
right.
care.
Sounds great.
Love you.
Bye. Love
Bye.
you.